World.
Branding with the big faces.
I love listening to it.
Kane Sims.
Kane Sims.
Kane Sims, the one and only.
Britain's finest, Mr. Kane Sims.
Dustin Coates.
I like it when you guys are together and talking about boys.
Without further ado, welcome to the show.
All right, and here we go. Where am I? There I am. We made it. Hello. Dustin, how's it going?
Going pretty well. Enjoying the summer. Doing all right. How about you? How are you doing?
Yeah, all right. I'm getting a couple more grey hairs in this beard of mine, given that I've been living out of a suitcase for the last 5 weeks and had one property that was flooded, which we couldn't move into, and then another property that we managed to move into in the space of 4 days. And so now our whole place is full of boxes and bags, and we're just kind of sitting about wondering what we're doing with our life.
Congratulations on the move. I looked it up on Wikipedia, and it seems like you're just moving from spa town to spa town in the UK.
I am, yeah. I moved from Tunbridge Wells, which is a very nice spa town, to Harrogate, which is another very nice spa town. I think we're going to move to Bath next, which I think is the only other spa town in the country. So we'll do Harrogate for a while, and then we'll move down to Bath.
Oh, that's not a pun. That's actually Bath is indeed.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is actually a spa. I think it's a spa town anyway. Yeah. Harrogate is actually pretty nice. I've only been a handful of times. Which is one step better than when I moved to Tunbridge Wells, because when I moved to Tunbridge Wells, I had never, ever been there before, ever. I just drove in, looked at a flat, said, yes, please, and drove out, and then moved my whole life there 6 weeks later, which was intense. But you know the feeling, moving from the US to Paris, yours is more intense than mine.
It's fun. It's fun. It's you can envision all your future life with no problems whatsoever.
That's true. Yeah, there's been pretty problem-ridden so far. Well, actually, it's been all right, to be fair. And maybe he's making a bit more deal of it for dramatic effect. It's actually not been too bad. But I'm sure it'll be fun times over the next few weeks. So yeah, let's get on with the show, shall we? Let's welcome our guest onto VUX World, Anna Ralph from Heyday. Anna, welcome.
Hi guys, thanks for having me.
Any large migrations happening in your lifetime so far?
No, very minimal migrations. I think we've just been kind of stuck inside for the past year and a bit. So not too much movement on over here.
Yeah,
so Anna, you're in Quebec, right?
Yes, Montreal, Quebec.
And is it true that everyone in Quebec moves on the same day? Is that more or less correct?
Yes, July 1st.
which is Canada Day as well, right?
Yes, which is kind of a cruel joke, I guess. You always want to book if you're moving in Quebec, you want to book your U-Haul as early as possible, because July 1st is just an absolute nightmare. But also potentially lots of good furniture for you to take off the sidewalk. So, something to think about.
Am I understanding this correct? Is that actually what happens? People move house on the 1st of July?
Everyone's leases go from like July 1st to July 1st. So you can like transfer your lease in between, but like your official lease, like renewal, will be on July 1st.
Wow.
Yeah.
That simplifies things, I suppose. It does make for one hell of a batch run of jobs to do once a year for all these leasing companies and that. Wow.
Yeah, just a very busy day for movers. I guess really good for landlords. And if you're not moving, it's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I forgot that's something that's like specific. I always forget that that's not the case everywhere outside Quebec.
Yeah. The only similarity in the UK is that Fridays tend to be the day when people move. That's the only consistent thing. People want to move on a Friday. I don't know what it's like in Paris, Dustin. Paris seems to be, I don't know, from my experience and your stories of renting and leasing around Paris, it seems to be a different kettle of fish again to the UK.
Possibly. It's hard to rent during the winter because landlords can't kick you out during the winter, so they don't want to start anything and you just not pay. But in the US, August is the big time to move. And maybe in the UK it's the same as well because people are starting school, it's the summer, they're getting set up before the school year starts.
Interesting. Yeah, it's probably a bit similar to that, which I'm about to find out school-wise because our kid will be starting school soon. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how Harrogate goes. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. It looks very nice. It seems like someone's just picked Tunbridge Wells up and put it in the north. Or actually, Harrogate's probably a bit older, so maybe they've picked Harrogate up and put it down south, is where I've been for the last 10 years. But yeah, we'll see. I'm sure my musings on moving to Harrogate will soon become clear and abundant as we progress through the next few weeks on this podcast. But moving on from general migration topics and general musings around moving dates, Anna, welcome to the show. And do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at Heyday and Heyday in general, just being acquired by HubSpot? Congratulations on that.
Sure, thanks. It was Hootsuite, but
Hootsuite, sorry.
I can see no worries. I have definitely made that mistake in my brain.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm the lead conversation designer at Heyday. I've been there for, I think I'm coming up on my 3 years in early September. So it's been a pretty crazy journey to kind of think of, really, I think we were maybe 10 people total, founders included in this little kind of startup hub in Montreal called Notman House, a little closet with a AC that we had to kind of stick in the window to 80 people, $60 million acquisition to Hootsuite. It's kind of crazy to really think about where we started and where we ended up. But yeah, I mean, my main responsibilities, just creating the personas for our bots, designing the UX, the customer journey, the end user journey, maybe I should say. Heyday is kind of twofold. So we kind of have, the product for the end user. So that's kind of the automated AI-powered chatbot side of things. But we also have the customer service agent side of things. So we have an agent dashboard for customer service agents to handle tickets, chat with clients, things like that. My background is in copywriting, though, which is probably kind of important for me to mention, given kind of the different journeys that conversation designers kind of take. Personally, I started in copywriting, ad agencies, content writing, SEO writing, mostly in Toronto. I moved back to Montreal and kind of stumbled into this job. Sounded really cool. I was like, cool, I get to give robots personalities. Can't say no to that. And 3 years later, here we are.
Wow. Nice. It's a funny, I know of quite a few copywriters who've ended up going into conversation design. It's quite an interesting background, but you mentioned that people are coming to conversation design from a lot of different backgrounds, and maybe we'll get into some of the trends that you're seeing and all that kind of stuff in terms of your the team that you have and all that. But were you at Heyday from the start then, you were saying?
Pretty close. I think I was maybe employee like 5 or 6. So yeah.
Wow. And when was that? 3 years back, 2018?
Yeah, 2018. It was myself, our 4 founders. I think we had 1 salesperson, 1 designer, and a couple developers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And has it been the same product the whole time, or have there been significant shifts and pivots?
I mean, I think the core of our product has honestly remained, like, we've been quite true to the kind of the initial, at least when I started, the initial kind of conception of the product. We did kind of narrow down our focus to retailers, as opposed to kind of I don't know, hotels and things like that. So I think we kind of narrowed our focus of who our product is really built for. But we have remained quite true to to just delivering better customer experiences to customers online.
Interesting. So you've got the front end, which is the live chat element, which is the kind of automated sort of like customer service bot, for want of a better word, on sounds like predominantly retailer websites. And then you mentioned that there is also something behind the scenes in the back for the agents that work at, let's take any retailer, B&Q, like hardware sort of retailer in the UK. Let's say that there's a widget on their website that can ask questions about product services, but then behind the scenes for the people in the customer services team, there is something for them to take over and live chat kind of handovers and stuff like that. Is that right?
Exactly. So it's just kind of an agent inbox, an agent dashboard, for if they want to jump in and kind of take over the conversation, or if the end user, wants to chat, they couldn't find their answer via the AI and they want to chat with someone. It's just kind of the human side of our product.
Interesting. What do you think has attracted Hootsuite to Heyday? Because there's lots of live chat solutions out there that seem to do something similar to what Heyday is doing behind the scenes, like Intercom and stuff like that. And then those also have either integrations with conversational frameworks like Watson and Microsoft and Google, etc., or some of them actually do have their own rudimentary automation capabilities. Not that they all necessarily center around natural language, and not all with a focus predominantly on retail. But what is it that you think Heyday? I don't want to put words in your mouth or ask you to put words in Hootsuite's mouth, but from your observations of other providers, what is it, do you think, about Heyday that is different to something like an Intercom, for argument's sake?
I mean, I think it's also our focus on social. I know that we talked about a lot about how, obviously Hootsuite is, a social media management platform, and we kind of fill in this gap to kind of complete their kind of that customer journey on social. But personally, I really believe that the thing that truly differentiates us, obviously our product is really fantastic from end to end, but it's really our team of people. It's how we treat our customers. It's the kind of service we give them. It's the personalized bots that we give them, which again, probably just tooting my own horn, but we have a really great team of conversation designers and copywriters who really put in a lot of work to kind of create these really custom personas and custom bots for our clients. So they're not just getting something out of the box. They're not just getting, copy and bots written by developers. They're really getting kind of that kind of agency service, that really kind of careful copywriting and crafting and branding, that you would kind of expect to get from an ad agency. So from my perspective, it's that's really something that differentiates us and really kind of puts us above and beyond from others in the space.
Interesting. And I don't know whether you know how the future will pan out with Hootsuite, whether there's anything that you can say publicly about plans and things like that. It's obvious. It seems obvious to me, at least, that Hootsuite is obviously a social media management platform that has all of these different channels coming into it, with people sitting behind it, scheduling tweets and posts and stuff like that, and monitoring what's incoming and monitoring hashtags and all that kind of stuff. It seems as though integrating that into that suite, for want of a better word, would be a logical place to go. Is that obvious? Is that the plan, or is that not something that is publicly kind of addressable, should we say?
To be quite honest, it's still very early days. I think we're still kind of, we're not entirely sure kind of how would it all fit together in the future. I know that, Hootsuite and I think ourselves, we just really want to take our time to make sure that, we kind of integrate, into each other the right way. but they're really great in kind of supporting our growth and supporting our independence. So things are kind of status quo for now, but TBD. I know there's going to be a lot of a lot of things that that we'll see how they pan out, but so far status quo, but we'll see. Should be a very interesting few months coming up.
Nice.
And you've got quite a nice roster of customers as well, which I imagine was quite attractive. And can you talk a little bit about the benefits that some of these customers, whether you have any data case studies that they've seen by moving onto your platform?
Yeah, I mean, we have a really great roster of clients. Obviously, lots of nice big brands that I think anyone would be really happy to work on. I know that we have I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I know that we have a few really good case studies on our website. I believe Popeyes is one of them, and we were able to reduce the number of kind of escalated requests to agents, which is something that we kind of pride ourselves on doing. It's one of our main goals, is to reduce the number of kind of repetitive, kind of mundane questions that customer service agents get inundated with every day, to kind of let them focus on the things that matter a little more, let them focus on sales, let them focus on those requests that kind of need more of a human touch. But I know that over the course of this past year specifically, we've definitely we have quite a few stats and quite a few clients where we were able to reduce the number of escalated requests quite significantly, which given COVID, it was getting a little crazy for a lot of our clients. I think everyone was really excited to go get a bike. Everyone wanted to go buy a bike because gyms were closed and they wanted to go bike outside. And they were like, we really need to get this thing live because we have too many requests and not enough agents. So I know we were able to reduce those quite a bit.
Interesting. It's interesting how you're talking a lot about customer service and Hootsuite. I suppose over time, if you think about a provider like Twilio or something like that, where Twilio is providing a technology that would give customer service agents the ability to be able to do similar things to Hootsuite, managing incoming contact across a variety of different channels. Hootsuite is a tool that I predominantly would associate with marketing people, though, as opposed to customer service. In your experience, where are you seeing the requirements for not just the automation for your likes of Heyday, but in terms of the clients that you're working with and the teams that you're working with, are you seeing that there's a requirement for conversation design skills in the marketing team, or is it predominantly in the customer service team? Where are you seeing the demand for these kind of skills?
So that's a really good question. More and more, we kind of see kind of how important social commerce is, and I think that's kind of where that comes in, as far as having conversation design on on marketing teams, or at least having marketing KPIs and marketing goals, sales goals in mind. When creating a bot. It shifts it varies, I guess, from client to client, depends what their KPIs are. We have clients who they want to increase sales with their bot. They want their bot to be kind of like a shopping assistant that obviously increases sales, encourages users to buy products, recommends products, or even encouraging them to chat with maybe the agents on the other side aren't customer service but they're salespeople. So encouraging them to chat with a salesperson so they can make more sales. So I think and you even see it on Instagram as well with shops and Facebook shops. I forget what their product is called as well, but you kind of see that more and more social platforms are kind of leaning towards kind of melding a bit more with e-commerce. So I think something to consider for sure, but always kind of depends on what the clients really need and what they want their bot to accomplish.
Have you seen those uni ovens? Have you seen them? Have you seen them,
I
Dustin?
don't think so.
No, never heard of
Uni? They're like pizza ovens, but they're gas powered. And so you essentially just get this box that turns up with little legs on it. You plug it into a gas canister, it fires up, and it's just like a pizza oven. Make your own dough, stick it in there, and 30 seconds later, you got yourself a pizza. Looks really good. The reason why I say that is because I followed them on Instagram today, and every second post is basically a social selling post. There's a little dot on there. You click on it, and it brings up whatever the picture is. Little link to go to the website to have a look at it, and obviously you can buy it. Now you've got Instagram Messenger is able to have bots inside of it. Facebook Messenger, obviously, you can have bots inside there for a long time. There seems to be the thread I'm trying to kind of pull at is you were mentioning there that around this kind of automation entering marketing teams, it's being used and it's entering this social selling space. Where do you see the kind of future of that sort of space? Can you envisage, for example, Instagram messaging becoming part of that sales journey? Is that something that you've been exploring at Heyday?
I mean, I think it's also kind of built into our product. Like we have an entire feature that's essentially designed to. It's a product search inside the chat. We have another one where and that's kind of custom by the conversation designers. But product recommendations, like product quizzes. Making sure based on the customer's answers to a few questions, and we display dynamic results based entirely on what they're looking for specifically. We have a really great bot for Popeyes. They're like a nutritional supplement company throughout Canada and in Quebec and Ontario, where we really kind of take them through that journey to show them exactly what they're looking for. And even on the back end, for customer service agents or salespeople, they themselves can also recommend products to the end user. They can show product cards, images, links, instead of just kind of a boring hyperlink. So I think more and more it's there's a lot more that you can do with chat than just talking. Instagram, I think, is also we're working on integrating with Instagram as well. So I mean, again, to be determined, but I think it's kind of it's a place that we're headed sooner rather than later.
Nice. Apologies for my sorry, Dustin. I just want to apologise for my absence just there. I thought I'd blew you up on the screen. My phone rang and it was going off behind me on the iPad. I wanted to get down and turn it off. I didn't realise I was still on camera. Apologies for that. Go on, Dustin.
No, I was going to say, I think it's quite interesting. We've obviously spoken with a lot of B2C conversational designers, and we've also worked with some, or not worked with, we've spoken with some who are B2B, but they're designing conversations for their end users, or they're designing conversations to communicate with their end users. I think this may be the first time where we're speaking with someone who is in a B2B space, but the brand is going to be the sort of the face of what the consumers are speaking with. So in that context, what does a conversational designer do in that B2B space?
I mean, what do you mean by B2B?
So you have customers, but
yes,
the customers aren't speaking to Heyday, right? They're speaking to Popeyes, okay, or they're speaking to et cetera.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's kind of multifaceted, right? You kind of have three groups of people that you're trying to make happy, right? You're trying to deliver what the client wants, but you also need to deliver what ultimately, helping the end user get whatever they want, as fast as possible. And we're trying to make sure that the customer service agents and admins are getting what they want. I mean, personally, like being able to draw from my experience in ad agencies was very helpful. In kind of being able to communicate, end user needs to our clients. And given that it's kind of such a new space, and I say this all the time, it's a really kind of exciting and cool space to be in, because I feel like clients kind of put a lot of trust in us, given that it's still kind of a new and up and coming space. Obviously, over time, and especially in the last 3 years, you kind of see clients becoming a little more educated on chat, and they're asking about best practices. They'll kind of pull stats out, that they found themselves. But so they kind of trust us a lot in the decisions we make, for their end users. So I think that trust kind of helps manage all of those expectations from those different groups. And we do, again, kind of take a lot of care to make sure that their bot is on brand. We go through an extensive onboarding process, through feedback, and making sure that the bot sounds like their brand. And we work really closely together with our clients to make sure that we get that bot and that that experience exactly where we want it. But it's definitely an interesting kind of intersection of three different groups of stakeholders, you could say. It's like three different groups that are going to be using this quite intimately. So definitely some juggling to do.
And are you finding that it's similar to, you mentioned the amount of trust that's placed in you? Are you finding it similar to, for example, let's say if you're building a website or something similar to that, you've got a stakeholder over here that wants it to look this way, and then you've got, the person who's going to use it behind the scenes in the back office wants it to work in this kind of certain way. And because it's web, everyone has kind of an opinion because they understand it. If anyone's ever had any experience of putting something like a new CRM system into an organization, or you're, making a new service live on a website or something like that, you've got lots of different people that understand web, understand systems, understand how they want it to work. And none of that is always aligned with what's in the best interest of the end user. So that's always part of the game, is to try and do that education. But still, you've got people who are, as you say, fairly educated in what they want, and so you've got a lot of things to contend with. Are you finding that you're in that situation often, or is this still such a new space that there isn't quite as much sort of what I want to say is like the whole concept of too many cooks spoiling the broth sort of thing, or everyone's opinion ends up watering down the solution sort of thing? Are you feeling that that's the case, or is there still enough trust placed in you that you can guide and steer the direction of things?
I think that we still kind of have a pretty high level of trust, given in this, like, ad agencies, and then like you said, web design. I think, relatively speaking, we still have quite a bit of trust in us, and I feel very lucky to be able to say that. I think we can. I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of people who can relate to being in a client meeting and having one of the big bosses be like, "Hey, my wife had a really great idea at dinner, and I think we should scrap everything that you did and worked really hard on, and we should just go with my wife's idea because I think it's great." I was like, okay. But I still think we're kind of seeing a bit of a shift. But I mean, I also kind of try and take a bit of the questions that they bring up. Like, I still think there might even be some value, if they say like, "Hey, why can't we do it this way?" And if we really can't, then we really can't. But maybe it's kind of worth asking the question of like, "Oh, you know what? Maybe we can try and do it a different way." Given, I don't know, there's so much we can still learn about this, and it could always be worth exploring, kind of asking the question or considering the question. But yeah.
And so how many conversation designers do you have now on staff?
So we have 3, including myself. We have Adam, who just joined us about a month ago, who is our English conversation designer, and we also have Miriam, who is our French conversation designer. So we do bilingual bots, bilingual experiences in-house, given that we are based in Quebec. And We are hiring, so if there's anyone out there who is a French or English conversation designer, or you're interested, given that Hootsuite acquisition, we are definitely growing. So 3 for now, but hopefully more soon.
And how has that hiring process been? I don't know if you were hiring when you were a copywriter as well, and maybe you can contrast the two, but how has the process been for you as a hiring manager?
I mean, it's been super interesting. I didn't really participate in the hiring process in the, when I was a copywriter earlier in my career. But it's been pretty interesting on a few fronts. Just kind of seeing the background of people who apply, seeing kind of why they want to be a conversation designer, or what was it about the job posting that kind of intrigued them. I always just ask why out of sheer curiosity. And it's interesting because we see a lot of people from, we've had developers, we've had kind of academic writers, or, academics, people writing their thesis in maybe kind of a different field, but they're kind of interested in writing. We've had, people, kind of content creators who are super interested in it. I know Miriam has she's a kind of a translator by trade. She joined us as a freelancer, a freelance translator, and kind of eventually joined the conversation design team. Adam comes from I hope I get this right, but I'm going to say sound design, something kind of production based, and recently graduated from the Conversation Design Institute. So it's just been really interesting to see just the different backgrounds, I guess, from our side, and just kind of seeing other conversation design job listings at other companies to see kind of what their requirements are and how they change from ours. Some conversation designers or positions are really, they're very dev heavy. You need to know how to code, or some of them are, complete opposite end of the spectrum, where, we're really looking for people who can copywrite first, creative minds who kind of have a tech itch to scratch and just kind of want to learn, a bit more about UX. There's UX designers, there's UX writers. It's just been kind of interesting to see the types of people that come in. It's kind of like a fun ragtag group of people who just want to try something new in their career.
Interesting. What are some of the reasons that you've heard when you ask the question of why you want to be a conversation designer?
It's a lot of, and I'm probably one of those people too. But it's a lot of people who kind of just want to change, and not really something completely different from what they're already doing, but people who kind of just want to, dip their toe into maybe a more creative space. I'm thinking of one of kind of our candidates who is a developer by trade, really kind of tech mind, but just kind of wanted to get into something a little more creative, or kind of flex, his creative muscles that maybe he kind of used on, on his own time. Personally, I wanted to change from kind of the marketing agency side of things, the content writing side of things. And I do kind of like the UX. I like the logic of it, and I like that the ultimate goal is to make something useful in the hands of the end user. But yeah, it's kind of just people who I think want a bit of a shift or a bit of a change, or maybe they never really found something that was, kind of diverse and interesting enough that intrigued them. I think that's the big one.
And what are some of the things when you're speaking with candidates, maybe something that came with Adam and Miriam that quite impressed you? How can budding conversation designers really set themselves apart when they're interviewing for these roles?
I mean, personally, it's just like the number one thing I think is just really is wanting to do it, is being eager and being interested, especially since, maybe you don't have all of the requirements or all of the skills. I don't have any, I don't have a Conversation Design Institute certificate. Like maybe you don't have everything you think you need, which I think can be the case with, some other jobs, but to just kind of be interested and be eager and willing to learn. There's so much, again, to kind of be learned in this space, that there's a lot of room for growth. There's a lot of room for change. There's a lot of room to kind of define your own path as a conversation designer as well. So to just kind of be open to that and be losing my words, but just be engaged and excited about it.
I had somebody, and I don't know who it was because it was on the live chat on our website today. Actually, literally today. I'm going to try and pull it up. And they asked me this question, which I think is a prominent time, or a pertinent time rather, to ask you the same question, which is, where is the best place to find junior positions for an experienced UX designer, but that doesn't particularly have conversation design experience specifically? What advice would you give for that person who is looking to try and find a conversation design role, gain experience, but hasn't quite actually done it before?
I mean, I know, again, I don't know the name of it specifically, but I know that Hillary Black, I'm gonna drop her name. I'm sure everyone is familiar with with her. I know she put together a kind of a conversation design job board that kind of just gathers all of the, like, every conversation designer job, I think, like, globally. I think anything she finds is kind of focused in this one space. I know that's a really great resource. She has another really great Facebook group as well. I think also just kind of cold emailing, just reaching out to other conversation designers on LinkedIn or however you can reach them. I've had a few people just reach out to me on LinkedIn just to ask some questions, about the role and how I got to where I am. And I think that people are maybe more willing than you might think. I just remember being a junior, like trying to find that first internship when I was 20, I was 21 years old. And I just remember thinking that, like, no one's going to answer me, like, who reads cold emails? And, now 10 whatever years later, I can probably say with some honesty that people are a lot more willing to help and to answer your questions, to take a look at your portfolio, than you might think. So, I mean, I would encourage that as well. I try to always answer because I remember how bad it felt to to not get an answer. But I mean, yeah, I wouldn't worry too much, I guess, about how much experience you have, or, like, if you don't have all of the skills. I mean, I think there's enough opportunity. Like, it's such a diverse kind of job that I really think there's a lot of opportunity for a lot of different types of people.
Shout out to Hillary Black. That's the exact answer that I gave, pretty much. Check out conversationdesignerjobs.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've lost my train. Oh yeah, one of the problems, I've spoke to Hillary about this a number of times. One of the problems that I've seen from companies advertising for conversation designers is that they ask for like 4 years experience. Now, some people have been designing conversations for 4 years, but there's been I would say, a tremendous influx of people who are interested and wanting to learn this skill set in probably the last 2 years or so. One, I suppose it's a two-part question. When you're recruiting, are you looking for that level of experience? And what's your observations in general from the applications that you've got received? What's your observations about the general level of experience of the market that is applying for these kind of roles?
Like, I think we, on our job listings, I'm pretty sure we have like 3 to 5 years of experience required. This is not 3 to 5 years of conversation design experience. It's 3 to 5 years of, I guess you can say, relevant experience. So, obviously you still kind of need a baseline of a certain skill set. For our jobs in particular at Heyday, we're really looking for people with kind of a good copywriting background, a good creative background, and the rest we can kind of, we're going to teach you. As long as you have kind of an inclination or an interest in kind of the UX side of things. But you don't need to be a developer. You don't need to know how to code. We have a whole fantastic group of developers and programmers that kind of handle that side of things. But I mean, I think it's a little, at least right now, I think it's a little harsh and a little unrealistic to have, to expect to have a really good pool of candidates that all have 3 to 5 years of copywriting, of conversation design experience, So hopefully we can be a little more, companies can be a little more open to that and see that you can, there's a lot of complementary skills, I guess you can say, that can make for a really good conversation designer.
Interesting. The other, you mentioned conversation design, you've mentioned copywriting, you've mentioned people who have a technical knack and a technical interest kind of applying for roles and stuff like that. At Heyday, and then you also mentioned that you would do another research into other job descriptions, and some require more technical experience than others. At Heyday, what's the scope of a conversation designer's role? What is it that you're actually doing? Are you writing copy? You mentioned persona design a number of times. Are you defining intents and utterances and things like that? Are you drawing up the architecture? Like what's the scope of the role at Heyday?
Sure. So, conversation designer is at Heyday. I would say it's the majority of it is kind of copywriting, persona design, very heavy on that. But of course, it's also about designing the architecture, like you mentioned, of the experience. So defining where users can go, what buttons go where, how do we take them down, that path to get to their answer. So I would say that's kind of the big majority. We work closely with our AI team as far as intent detection and utterances, but that's not really something that the conversation designer, it's not really in our day to day. At Heyday, we kind of have we have a set of retail specific intents that all of our bots are kind of pre-trained, or can be pre-trained to understand, kind of based on data of thousands and thousands and thousands of conversations. So it's really about I would say it's really about kind of the user experience, the end user experience, as far as the kind of scripted journey that they can take through the bot. Because we do kind of have, there's two ways a user can kind of interact with our bot. They can just, open our widget on the website, ask their question right away. Our AI will handle it, and then that's that. Or maybe they get escalated to an agent. Or if they never want to ask, if they don't want to use free text at all, they can just click through the experience in its entirety. And that's really where the conversation designers come in, to make sure that, we're taking them down the right path, we're offering the right options at the right time, we're saying things in the right way, communicating things clearly. So I'd say that's really where kind of the conversation design lies. Obviously, we work very closely with our dev teams and our AI teams, our product teams, but day to day, I would say that's about it.
Cool. And what is involved in we started at the very beginning of the conversation, you were talking about personas, you're referencing personas quite a lot. There's various ways that different companies will go about creating personas. What is it that you include in your creation of a persona, and how does that contribute to a better customer experience?
I mean, there are some, depending on the size of the client, they may have a brand guide or they may not. There are some brands that are very kind of heavily, a lot of work obviously went into kind of creating their brand guide and how they sound. So it's very, very important that the bot kind of maintains that tone and experience. Like if you're on the website and the website has a certain, vibe and feel, obviously you want the bot to kind of match that. So I mean, I think it's quite crucial in delivering a better experience, for the end user as well as for the client, just to make sure that it kind of matches um, the brand's vibe. I think it's also a really good opportunity to kind of to have a bit of fun, to delight the end user a little bit, maybe make them laugh by using the tone of the brand itself. Because it's still, and we kind of talked about this. I remember in the early days of Heyday about kind of the gamification of it all, because it's still kind of, it's still chat. It's still a place where you can kind of have a bit of fun. You can use emojis. It's not as dry as maybe just an email interaction. It's a place where you can kind of, you can have a bit more fun. So, I mean, I think it can really make all the difference as far as delivering a better customer experience.
Especially on the retail type of sites, where there's a lot of retail brands who are quite kind of funky, and if you're working in social channels, your demographic is likely to be kind of more inclined to not necessarily take, not necessarily themselves too seriously, but they're more likely to be appreciative of, the one that I always think of is the Domino's Dom bot. Have you used the Alexa skill, Dustin? The Domino's Alexa
No,
skill?
I haven't. No.
Have you, Anna, or not?
No.
I slag this off every single time I reference it because as far as the function's concerned, it's not fantastic, but the persona is actually really good because it's every time it says something that you don't recognize, it'll say some kind of like hell of a jalapeno, I didn't understand that, or whatever it might be, like, and it'll just kind of like, there's all these little phrases that it says that are like quite quirky and stuff like that. And so I think you can probably get away with a lot more of that because you're more likely, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're more likely to find those type of brands in that sort of retail space where they can have a little bit of fun with themselves.
Exactly. And it's also about putting that fun in the right spot as well. If they're asking about a damaged order or they never received their order, like that's maybe not really the place to, put a GIF and a bunch of emojis. Like you don't want to just be patronizing, like sorry, I don't know. But if they're asking, they ask the bot like, what's up, or like, are you real, or whatever, like you already know if they're asking that question, then they're trying to mess with it. They're trying to have a bit of fun. So at least there, that you can add a bit of fun, you can make a joke, gifs, memes, and even our platform is also, it's geared towards, obviously solving, creating meaningful conversations and solving users' problems. But we also have features. We have features for product search, signing up to a newsletter, things that aren't necessarily I guess issue or problem focused, like places that are, it's like, come sign up to our newsletter, like join the community. So there's kind of a lot more places that we can, have inject a bit of fun and personality without worrying about, maybe stepping on users' toes.
Interesting. Yeah, it's nice. And how would you or what would you recommend? I think we've kind of covered it in terms of the question. I think was, where would you go as a junior designer to gain experience? What about the similar question but slightly different is, if you are not necessarily a conversation designer, but you are interested, think about the time when you were starting to find your feet in conversation design, and you've obviously built up a lot of experience in that time. But when you were first sort of starting out, what kind of things were you doing to build your knowledge? Because experience is one thing and you will gain knowledge through experience, but there needs to be some degree of also just knowledge gathering and all that kind of stuff. So what kind of resources would you recommend for people who are starting out? They want to learn a bit more about conversation design. Is there any particular things that you would recommend that they do, read, etc.?
I know they're in my bookmark somewhere. I think I remember which I think might be like a word that we don't like to use now, but a lot of like chatbot resources. There's a tons of stuff on Medium. Again, the Hillary Black's group on Facebook, just anywhere that you can kind of find best practices and even testing out other people's bots. Go to Heyday or another kind of conversation design firms or what have you, and check out their clients, see how they design their bots, see how bots differ from from one vertical to another. Again, reach out to colleagues. I had something else that just totally slipped away from me, but
it'll come back. It'll come back.
back.
Which of Heyday's bots was your favorite to work on, or one that you would recommend people should check out if they want an example of a good one?
That's a good question. We have some good ones coming up. I would probably recommend Popeyes. It's quite extensive and probably has one of our better product recommendation flows. He also just kind of has a cool personality. His name's Pop. He's a great guy. We also have, which is just like a personal favorite of mine, but Wazo Furniture. They're just kind of a small furniture brand. They're in Montreal and Toronto. Has maybe one of my favorite kind of misunderstanding messages that I ever wrote that somehow got approved by the client, which I'm just really happy about. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you can go find out. What else? I would probably stick with Popeyes. That was a favorite of mine for sure.
Nice. Any you can think of off the top of your head, Dustin? Any interesting chatbots that you've experienced recently?
Recently? No, I can't think of any. What about you?
Not a chatbot, but I can think of a very poor example of one that you should avoid. I mean, you've mentioned there the...
I can't wait.
yeah, you want to try this one out. You mentioned live agent handover. Now, obviously, a lot of companies will start with live chat, monitor the live chat, and then they'll see what things they can automate from that live chat. It's an approach that we've used and advised on in the past, is that if you're just starting out, stick a live chat on there, stick a resource behind it, learn what your customers are actually talking to you about, then figure out which things you can automate off the back of that. And so there's nothing wrong with that approach. The problem sometimes is that if you've got very high volume, then the service on the live chat becomes terrible, because the people who are managing it are managing 10 different chat conversations at any one time. And so I told you very briefly at the beginning of the episode about the moving hassle that I've had. Sold the house, cancelled my internet, moved in with my in-laws, got another house, set up the internet in that new house, turned up to sign the tenancy agreement, place was flooded, didn't move in, right? So I had to cancel the internet. And Virgin Media have got genuinely fantastic internet. And I don't know if you've got Virgin Media in the US or in France. Have you got Virgin Media or not?
I think we
so.
do.
I think you might do, yeah. But anyway, it's lightning fast. My father-in-law has sent me a picture of the speed test he's just done, because he just set it up today, and it is lightning fast, right? But to cancel, it is nigh on impossible, because you have to use a live chat thing. It turns out I reinstated it again afterwards, but I spent an hour and a half on live chat to Virgin Media just to say that I wanted to cancel my internet, which hasn't even been installed yet. I don't have a contract, just cancel the delivery. And I'm not lying, it took me an hour and a half, because it was just horrid. Because I just had to sit and wait for the person to respond. And then what happened was they said, you're better off doing this on WhatsApp. So I was like, okay, do you want to move to WhatsApp? I was like, yeah, go on then, I'll try that. Yeah, I fancy, having a bit of a exploration about how you're going to use this omni-channel sort of like communication thing with me. So they sent me a link to WhatsApp. I opened up WhatsApp, started the entire conversation again from the very beginning. What's your address? Where you're moving from? Where you're moving to? The whole thing. And then I eventually got through that. Eventually got through verification. I got a message back saying, I'm sorry, the WhatsApp team aren't available right now. They'll be starting at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. So I had to go back on the live chat again, reinstate that conversation, but when there was a new conversation with a new person because the old one had been closed, and honestly, it was an absolute nightmare. So I don't have any long-winded way of saying, Dustin, that I don't have any very good examples of you to check out. But if you want to know how to do things poorly, definitely take out a Virgin Media subscription and then try and cancel it via the live chat.
Well, that's the
Sounds like a
problem,
bit.
right? That's the problem. You can remember the bad ones. You don't necessarily remember the good ones.
Exactly. That is a very, very good point, and a perfect way to draw a line under the importance of good conversation design. Because even people having live chat are having conversations, and in some way, shape, or form, they have to be designed in some way. Even the live chat ones, because they've got scripts to follow, processes to follow, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and the importance of customer experience as well, because waiting for an hour and a half and being switched to another type of channel, which doesn't bring across your context at all, and starting the conversation again was not good whatsoever. So Virgin Media, give Heyday a shout if you are interested in fixing that, or give us a shout. I'm sure we'll be happy to help. Anyway, Anna, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been absolutely fantastic. Really appreciate it. Congratulations again on the acquisition and on such success in the role. Hopefully the team will continue to grow and you'll continue to move on to bigger and better things as always. So thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, sure thing. Thank you very much for taking the time and having me on.
No worries. Where can people find out either about the jobs that you are going to be recruiting for, or about Heyday itself if they wanted to start using? I'm assuming they might have to become a Hootsuite customer if they want to start using Heyday, but where can people find out more? Where can people try it? Where can people find out about the jobs, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, our website is heyday.ai. Everything you'll need to know about our product is there. LinkedIn as well, but I think we're now Heyday by Hootsuite now. So our LinkedIn page, and yeah, our careers page on Heyday as well. I think we have, I don't know, 25, some ridiculous number of open positions. So scroll down to the bottom of our homepage, click on careers, and come join us.
Nice. Sounds good. Been an absolute pleasure. Dustin, any final thoughts? Any closing thoughts?
No, I think this was great. Thanks again for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
Cool.
Thanks again.
Nice one. Thank you all for joining us. We will be back probably tomorrow with Vlooper, and next week with Soundhound, discussing how to engineer or how to build voice experiences around noisy environments like the car and things like that. So that's going to be quite interesting. So do tune in for that if you haven't already, and go to vux.world/subscribe if you either cannot tune into the live episodes, or if you want to get them on catch up or what have you, you will get all notifications through there. Thank you very much for tuning in, Anna. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. And we will see you all soon. See you later.